Today's show is sponsored by DVCBuyResale.com. DVCBuyResale.com is a great place to buy or sell your Disney Vacation Club membership. You can view their current Disney Vacation Club resales, get answers to frequently asked questions, and see the DVC points charts all at DVCBuyResale.com. Or call Chantel directly at 1-800-844-4099. This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, January 11th, 2008. This is episode 356 of Walt Disney World Today. I am your host for the week, Len Testa, for the unofficial guide to Walt Disney World. With me, as always, from Mouse World Radio, Spicy Mike Newell.
I'm really enjoying myself this week, I have to say.
This has been the most relaxed, pleasant week I think we've had in a long, long, long time.
Yeah,
efficient, calm, getting through a bunch of listener questions. It's been great.
And we're having a heck of a good time.
Thanks very much for your time on the show, Mike. I know I never recognized your... I'm sorry. I know that the normal host of the show never recognizes the hard work that you put into this thing.
No,
but I just want to say...
He doesn't care.
I really... You're really the guy who keeps this thing running.
Thank you, Len. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Also with us on the show is Mike Scopa of AllEarsNet.com. Mr. Scopa, how's it going?
I love you guys.
Please tell me that's from a show. That's from a Disney attraction. Some sort of twisted version of Enchanted Tiki Birds or something.
Here we go. Ready? We had begun to believe that the height of civilization was an automobile, a radio, and a bathtub. Of course, now we're a lot smarter. Now Congress wants to trim down the Navy so it will fit in the bathtub, too.
True story. Scopa was actually in the audience when Will Rogers said that the first time.
Actually, he stole that from me.
He stole it from me, exactly. He said 50 years earlier at the centennial celebration of the United States.
Classic.
That's right.
So we're continuing episode 356 where we left off on episode 355, which is a letter from a reader, Susan, who said, Hi, I just love listening to you guys talk about your trips to Disney, but nothing ever seems to go wrong for you. Maybe I'm still a newbie, but I have at least one I'll never do that again moment per trip. Susan sounds like someone we want to party with.
Yes.
Has this ever happened to you? If so, I'd love to learn from your experience. Now, I had already given my I'll never do that again in 355. Mr. Newell said it as well. We were on Mr. Scopa's I'll never do that again moment when the show abruptly ended, almost as if Hotchberg pulled a switch at some point. Mr. Scopa, your I'll never do that again moment.
Oh, okay. This is funny. It's kind of weird. One time I was down in Walt Disney World within the last year and a half, and a friend insisted that she be the driver for the night, driving to a certain restaurant to have a meal. So a few of us went in her car, and I reluctantly went because I need to have control, and I need to be the person who drives around Walt Disney World. But that night, she insisted. I said, okay, fine. And we got lost. In
Disney World?
In Disney World, believe it or not, and I tried to do my best to say, okay, go here, go there, but, I just was very quiet. And
I've been lost in Central Florida. How do you get lost in Walt Disney World?
All I can tell you is that was the first and that was the last time. And no offense to the person who was driving. She was very nervous and stuff, but I just decided right then and there that, it's either got to be the Ghost of Walt Disney or Marty Starr or someone or Meg Crofton or somebody who really knows their way around there in order for me to be a passenger in any other car.
Where did you end up with? I mean, where did you end up?
We're supposed to go to Olivia's Cafe
over at Old Key West.
Yeah, and
where were you coming from?
We were coming from the Boardwalk parking lot.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like it would take that long.
I mean, they're both Epcot resorts, but yeah, you should have just made the. See, from the Boardwalk, you can go out and make a right. You go to the light, and you should make a left, right?
Yeah. You go down Buena Vista Boulevard. Yeah, I know.
But you didn't.
We went somewhere. We went around the world, you might say. It took about an hour and 15 minutes to get there.
Oh my God!
Should have taken maybe It should have taken about 20 minutes.
That's funny.
And I'm probably going to hear this from my friend because I know she listens to the podcast.
Well, at least we know that she can't find you and hunt you down to kill you for that. So okay.
But she got us there, so that's what counts.
Did you miss your ADR?
But she taught me a lesson.
She did.
And I'll never forget.
Our next email is from Jamie in Johnston, Rhode Island, who said,
Jamie.
"Hello, everyone. Jamie, a friend of mine would like to plan a trip to the world later this year, and he means 2008 because we got it in 2008, and is looking for help in figuring out the best accommodations. There'll be a total of 6 travelers, including 4 children, ages 5 and under. So 4 children, ages 5 and under. At this point, we know that 2-bedroom DVC resorts will work, and the Fort Wilderness cabins are an option as well. A few of the travel agencies that book DVC said they can't reserve these more than 6 months out, and my friend has never stayed in the cabins before. So what other resorts on property, outside of booking separate rooms, will accommodate 6 guests, and can they be booked now for this November? Any help would be much appreciated. Thanks as always." 6 guests, 4 of them under 5. So that's, I guess, two adults and 4 kids under 5. Woo! I'm thinking the All-Star Family Suites is an option. That would do 6. And there is a decent bed in one room for the adults. The kids would sleep on the couches and the fold-out bedding in the other room. There's a fold-out couch. There's the chairs around the tables fold out into sort of like sleepers for one. That's one option. But I don't know that those things. Newell, have you seen those?
No, I never have.
They don't look all that comfortable. I haven't spent the night in them, but they don't look all that comfortable at all. For kids, kids got plastic for bones or rubber for bones anyway.
Right.
They might be okay on them. So that would be my other option. I really like though the 2-bedroom DVC resorts, or even the 1-bedroom and have the kids sleep on the couch and on the fold out couch and maybe on the floor. That wouldn't be bad. They're under 5, so that might be an option as well. A 1 or 2-bedroom DVC resort would be my first choice. Newell, what do you think about Fort Wilderness cabins?
I've never stayed in one. We almost did one time, but we never made it.
I've stayed in there a bunch of times.
You got plenty.
It's about 500 square feet, which is about the size. The 2-bedroom DVC resort is definitely going to be bigger. Fort Wilderness cabins are going to be bigger than the All-Star Suites 2, but I don't know that Fort Wilderness with 4 young children is quite right. Scopo, what do you think?
We've got 2 parents and 4 children, right?
Yeah, 4 children under the age of 5.
I was thinking, I'm not sure, the south wing for the Contemporary. Didn't those rooms have 2 huge beds plus another bed, like a day bed or whatever? I wonder if you could fit 3 children on the bed.
3?
Yeah, the 2 adults in one bed, 3 children on one bed, and then 1 child on the larger child, the taller child on that day bed. At the oh, wait a minute, No, yeah, that's the Contemporary. That'd be expensive, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. It'd be expensive, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. And the suites, maybe the suites is the best. Or adjourning rooms at Pop. I don't know. Connecting
I like the
rooms.
suites. I think the suites are probably the way to go. So I'd go with the suites. Our next question is from Michael Rua Harding, who writes, "Dear WW Today, I've just recently bought the unofficial guide, ding!" And he actually said ding in the email, and followed the touring plans for my trip to the world. I was wondering how you had figured this out. Also, by the time you will get this email, only Mike Schiappo will be able to read it. So how do we figure it out? I'm sure we have a previous show where we talk about how we do it, right?
And I don't remember which one, but
one of the very early episodes.
Yeah.
Mike is we talk about it. Essentially, it comes down to nothing but really hard work and brains. It's we have a lot of people who do nothing but collect wait time data from the parks.
ride buses.
We have ride the buses too. We have people who we have a professional statistician that analyzes the data from the rides, and then we put it into some really sophisticated scheduling software that pops up the touring plans. After the touring plans come out, we give it back to those people who are in the parks, and they do the same touring plan over and over and over and over again with minor variations to make sure it works, and that's how we develop the plans. Each of them takes about 6 months to a year to develop and test, and then it makes the book. That's how. But definitely check some of the older shows, because I think in the first 50 episodes or so of WDW Today, we talk about how we create the touring plan. So it's definitely something there. Our next question is from Kevin from Lincoln, Nebraska, who says, "Hi guys, I love the shows. They help me get through the necessary middle-age required workouts at the gym." That's always good. Cool. My family is planning a 10-day trip to Walt Disney World in January of 2009. I know the 2008 cost of a Magic Your Way ticket with Park Hopper option is about $287, and an annual pass is about $477. We'd like to stay at Riverside, but would consider something like Boardwalk or Wilderness Lodge. If one of us purchased the annual pass, what would the AP discount make it worth the extra $190? I know from All Ears Net what most of the discounts are. What is unclear is if the lodging discount. I can't find out that until I'm an annual pass holder. What can I expect? Thanks, Kevin. So we actually talked about this on a previous episode, right? The break-even point, Mr. Scopa, for deluxe resorts and annual passes. It's a 10-day trip that they're going on, January 2009.
Didn't we say, Len, that as you get up in class, when you get to the deluxe, the break-even point is not as long as the value in the moderate because of the large chunk of discounted dollars per night? Did we say that, or was it the other way around?
No. You definitely remember right. It's a Hotchbuggy that has the hallucinations on the show. The
like
discount
40% off. Usually it's 40%.
It's like 30 to 40% off. The break-even point, I think, for deluxe resorts with an annual pass discount is somewhere around 3 to 5 nights, depending on the resort and the discount. So if you're going for 10 nights, an annual pass is a no-brainer. Definitely get the annual pass. Now the other question is whether the discount will be available. I think we talked about this before. Maybe not if you're checking in literally on January 1st. You might not have that discount for that particular day. But starting like the second or the third, you would definitely have discounts for the rest of your stay. And it definitely makes sense for one of you guys to get the annual pass.
And that's when you really need to check Mary Waring's site, because she usually has the dates when there's value season and regular season, so you can get an idea as to what the rack rates are anyways.
Yes, that's definitely a thing. But I think again, just getting the annual pass, there's almost no risk to doing it. There's a small risk that the discount won't be available. But the other thing I would say is work with a Disney specialist travel agent and tell them you've got the annual pass, and they'll go out and look for the discounts for you as soon as they come out. I think that's also something critical you have to do, because you don't want to rely on yourself. You have to get up every morning and look to see if the discounts are out. Let someone do it for you.
Yep.
All right. Our next question is from Susan, who writes, "Hi, Mike, and Len, plus some guy named Matt, who
is this Matt guy?
He used to be on the show apparently a long time ago. Anyway, in one of your podcasts, there seemed to be some negative feelings towards Port Orleans Riverside. Right now, we're scheduled to stay there in February 2008. Can you clarify what you guys don't like about POR? I'm thinking about bumping up to Wilderness Lodge for $200 more. Good idea or bad idea? Well, but me, my husband, and our 9-year-old niece for 4 days. We're not renting a car. Thanks for the great podcast. Now that it doesn't have Hotchberg." She only wrote the last part of that. Susan. So Port Orleans Riverside. Here's the thing. And this is from my perspective. This is the thing. I don't love Port Orleans Riverside. To me, it doesn't have the intimate charm of French Quarter. It doesn't have the. I don't think the food court is as good as Coronado Springs, which I happen to like. The thing about that is that I'm apparently completely wrong when it comes to public opinion of those two resorts. Unofficial guide readers overwhelmingly love the Port Orleans resorts. If you go by what other people like and what other people recommend to their friends, stay at Port Orleans Riverside. I think this might be a case where it's my personal preference that I'm expressing, not travel advice. So I think Susan, if you're like 90% of the other people who stay there and write in with their surveys, you'll love it. It could just be me not liking the resort. Mr. Scopa?
I think when it comes to the Riverside Resort, I have a dislike for the Magnolia Bend area, because I just have a problem with the have a problem with those mansion style buildings because
they're really hard to find the rooms.
Yeah, and it's really hard to figure out where to park. That's in proximity to getting to your room. It takes forever to get to your room. Now, on the other hand, Alligator Bayou, that's a different story. I think that Alligator Bayou has a quaint feeling to it, similar to Port Orleans French Quarter. So I guess I'm going to qualify what I had been saying in the past, saying that, yeah, I'm not too crazy about Magnolia Bend, but Alligator Bayou might be something I can deal with. And as a matter of fact, the next time Carol and I together go to Disney World, I think I might book a couple of nights at Alligator Bayou just to give it a shot and see how Carol feels about it.
I've actually stayed in every section of Riverside, and it's to your point, it's really difficult to get around Magnolia Manor. Just to find the rooms is it's labyrinthian. It's really hard. I do like Alligator Bayou a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more remote than Magnolia Manor, but the buildings are smaller and it's easier to find things. The one downside to that is if you get sort of in the middle of Alligator Bayou and you're looking for like the pool, you really need a frame of reference, like one of the walking paths to get around. But other than that, it's fine. Cool. All right. Our next question is from Jeff of Mandeville, Louisiana, who writes, "Great podcast. I've been a listener since episode 1. Can you believe that?"
Wow.
Actually, I can't. That's really good. Thanks, Jeff.
And he's still with us.
It's still with us, really. Well, I think you Jeff, you might like the episodes now without Hotchberg. This might be a new and improved thing. Let us know.
Yeah.
I visit Walt Disney World.
If you didn't like us now, if you didn't like us then, you're gonna love us now.
You love us now, exactly. It's more substance, less fluff. Because really, Hotchberg, we just hired him for his looks.
We did?
I mean, yeah, we did. That was great. That's awesome. Anyway, Jeff writes, I visit Walt Disney World 2 or 3 times per year. I've always saved my fast passes from previous trips and had no problem using them even when they were 6 months to a year beyond the issue date and time, and never had a problem doing so. I just returned from a trip, and it seems that things have changed. While attempting to enter Soarin' with a fast pass from the day before, issued on Monday, good for 8 to 9 p.m., arrived Tuesday at 9:30 a.m., I was denied access to this attraction. Should I throw away all of my old fast passes? I have some for Space Mountain, Splash Mountain, Everest, etc. Is Soarin' an exception since it is hugely popular? Was the Soarin' employee at the fast pass distribution in a bad mood? Please help with any insight and/or advice and/or changes to the fast pass program. Thanks in advance. P.S. I took 3 others with me to Walt Disney World and introduced them to Dole Whips, and we stayed at Scopa Towers. When can I expect my commission check? That's awesome.
In the mail.
All right, so Jeff, here's the thing. You had a fast pass for an 8 to 9 p.m. You tried to use it at 9:30 a.m. I think that's probably the thing that the Disney employee noticed. Had you tried it again at 8 to 9 p.m. the next day, on the same day for the same time printed, I think very few employees have the time or the inclination to look at the date on the fast pass. They're just looking at the time. Especially if you get in ahead of like 60 other people behind you, they're just picking the fast passes up. I would say that's probably the thing that happened.
Did he say that he had fast passes from a previous trip?
Yeah, but then in this particular instance, he tried to use it from a previous day.
Oh, okay. I was going to say because the fast passes that were spit out from those machines a year ago are different from the ones that are spit out these days. I mean, they've changed them quite a bit. The quality of the paper is different.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, actually, the size of the paper is different too.
Size,
right?
Yeah. So
yeah.
Thickness.
So, but if you had one from the previous day, it's likely that
you got a shot. But again, using it at the same time would have been the good thing to do.
Yeah. So I think, but again, if you're doing it at the same time, I think you're absolutely fine. All right. Our next question is from TJ Ushing in Davis, California, who said, "Hey guys, I'm booking a trip to Disneyland, yes, land, in the summer of 2008, June to be exact. My biggest concern at the moment is how I can find out when a grad dance will be scheduled during my trip. Is there a website or anything I can find out before we set the final dates? I ask because last year there was one during the week that we went. We had no warning of when we booked the trip, having done so 6 months in advance. Thanks for your help." I would say call Disneyland, either the hotel or call one of the Disneyland hotels and see if they have a schedule. There's probably way more grad nights in Southern California than there are in Orlando, right?
Oh, yeah. ton more. Get more people out there.
But I would call Disney and just ask. All right, cool. Next question. Actually, it's more of a comment. Is from Michael. Is dudes? He says, I enjoy the show. Wife and I listen often and get to Walt Disney World from Charleston when we can. A couple of comments and a couple of recent answers you guys gave and some listener feedback shows. 1. You cannot walk from the Magic Kingdom to the Grand Floridian, and therefore not to the Poly either. The lit pathway you see from the monorail heading towards the Grand Floridian, in fact, doesn't make it past the water control entrance. To be like, we asked a cast member and they said the bridge over it never got built. Go figure. Did we actually say you could walk from Magic Kingdom to the Grand Floridian?
I was just going to ask that. I don't remember.
I don't remember
saying it.
I think we said we couldn't walk there.
Yeah.
You could walk. Maybe we were talking about walking from the Magic Kingdom, from the Grand Floridian to the Poly. All right. Number 2. Sorry to tell Len and Mike Newell, but Moe's at Celebration is no more. They took away Moe's at Celebration. Can you really get rid of a Moe's? Is that legal?
What is it? I don't even know what it is.
Moe's is a Moe's Southwestern Grill restaurant at Celebration. I don't know what happened, and they didn't elaborate. It's just gone. Which brings me a great idea for a show. Important landmarks off property. For instance, my wife can't do without Starbucks. The closest one is now in Celebration, where before it was Super Target on 192. Walmart is close if you know how to get there. Stuff like that. So yes, I mean there are very few Starbucks actually in Orlando. Coming to think of it, we put this in the last edition of the book that there's actually a Dunkin' Donuts and a Krispy Kreme off of 192 that I think are the two closest places to get decent coffee outside of Walt Disney World.
Isn't there a Starbucks in one of the downtown Disney hotels?
They do they bring in the big thermoses, the big things full, but it's not an actual Starbucks with the barista and everything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they can't do that. Our next question is from Brian of Florence, Kentucky, who said, "Hey kids, in several episodes, including 343, Lynn talks about how hard the mini golf course is at Fantasia Gardens. I think that Scopa can attest to this, but he did not chime in. There are actually 2 courses at Fantasia Gardens. One of them, which he talks about as being hard, is the Fairways course, which is very, very difficult. It basically resembles a real golf course on grass with sand traps, hills, water hazards, etc. I walked over and played just the first hole when I was done with the other course, which is just like any other concrete mini golf course. And it was so hard I quit after 10 strokes. Just want to make sure that Len knew that there were 2 courses, with one being similar to Winter Summerland in the design and easy enough for kids to play, as my 4-year-old son plays with me on occasion." So yeah, actually, I always felt to mention.
Call it like a pitch and yeah.
I always fail to mention the second course, and I think it's because the first one scarred me so much that that's all I can ever think of. Next question comes from Amy from Northern Kentucky. I didn't know that was a city, but okay. Hi guys, I'm a listener from Northern Kentucky. Maybe they're going to branch off like West Virginia. Wondering if there is a possibility that Toy Story Mania may have a soft openings during our trip set for April 19th through the 26th, 2008.
Yeah.
You just have to be in the right place at the right time in order to find this out? Thanks for the info. What's the official opening date, Scope, of the attraction, you know?
It is spring of this year, but I would suggest keeping our eyes on studiocentrals.org for information on Toy Story Mania.
Yeah, definitely a Studio Central. Again, run by a guy that's a complete tool, but it's a useful website.
Yeah, I have a feeling it'll be open by the time the Flower and Garden Show opens. I'm guessing. I think so.
The only thing is there's some pretty sophisticated technology in that ride, and once they actually start to test and adjust, the test and adjust phase of the attraction, there might be a delay there. April 19th to 26th, it's sort of the first month of spring. If it's supposed to be open in spring, maybe so. Maybe they're trying. In terms of having to be in the right place at the right time, what I would suggest is when you're over at Mermaid or One Man's Dream and you got some time to walk down Mickey Avenue, just take a walk down there. Maybe when the family's taking a break or did something else, just ask a couple of cast members what your chances are of getting to see the ride if they're going to do an adjustment. And they'll usually tell you one of two things. They'll usually say, "Yeah, we might be running it later on today or tomorrow, but I'm not sure about the time. You might want to come back later." Or they'll just tell you, "No, it's not opening right now." If they give you anything other than a no, then you can start asking about whether they're going to open it for that day.
And the phrase you want to use is sneak preview, really.
Right, sneak previews. They're going to be sneak preview. Try that. So try that and see what happens. And if you do get on it, Amy, write back and let us know how it goes. All right, well, that's about it for us today. This has been episode 356 of Walt Disney World Today. For Mike Newell and Mike Scopa, I am Len Testa. We'll see you on the next show.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio. Today's show is sponsored by DVCBuyResale.com. DVCBuyResale.com is a great place to buy or sell your Disney Vacation Club membership. You can view their current Disney Vacation Club resales, get answers to frequently asked questions, and see the DVC points charts all at DVCBuyResale.com. Or call Chantel directly at 1-800-844-4099.